Hello and welcome back to Dreamwalker Tarot. My name is Dawn and this is the December reading for Virgo, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Mars. Please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for post notifications. Thank you. This month I will be working with the Sibyl's Oracle deck of the Black Doves of Africa by Tiana Lee McQuiller. And this deck operates a little bit differently than traditional Oracle or traditional tarot decks in the way that it is structured. It deals more with the internal things that are happening with you as opposed to the external manifestations of those things, to deal with the root cause of what is going on as opposed to after it has already taken effect in your life. And so I've been doing the readings this month for all the signs with this particular deck, and I have to tell you that it is giving such insightful information, and I'm actually really enjoying it. So let me explain to you the way that it is structured. The deck has 44 cards, and they're separated into 4 different groupings. The first, which is the top left, is considered the core issue, which is the current issue that is kind of taking place in your life at this time, or the core issue that is affecting you at this time, followed by what is called the projection card, which is at the top left. The projection card is basically the justifications and the rationalizations that we are giving ourselves or telling ourselves to kind of like mask the truth about why we are unable or unwilling to acknowledge or notice what the core issue actually is. And the 2 bottom cards are called the action cards. The one on the left is the blue action, which is kind of like the mental process that goes into what you need to do in order to process and navigate and heal the issues and the core issues and the projection before you take the hot action card, which is the card on the right, and that's the actual physical steps that you'll be taking to kind of avoid going through unnecessary situations that can hurt you internally, but also to avoid any type of missteps in the external also. So the cards that came out for you in the position of the core issue is transformation and the rhythm card. Those 2 cards came out, and I decided to keep both of them because I never second guess the messages that Spirit sends, right? And the card that is in the projection that came up for projection is contentment. The cool action card is optimism, and the hot action card, which again is very counterintuitive to action, is stillness. And this card actually came out in the same position for Leo. So if you if you have Leo in your chart, or if you are close or share energetic spaces with a Leo or someone else that has Leo in their chart, then you might want to go ahead and take a look at the Leo reading. So we have a transformation, rhythm, contentment, stillness, and optimism. So initially off of the cuff, I really get a sense that Virgo, you are known, one of your things is that you're known for is being like a worker, right? And I feel like with these cards coming out, there is a sense that you are kind of taking a look at the way that you work, the way that you process your work in terms of the speed in which that you do it, and figuring out a way to come to like a balanced state of being with the work that you do, whether you want to speed up your processes or your output, whether you want to slow down your processing or your output, or in the process of changing the way that you do things and trying to figure out which way best suits the way that you work, right? For some of you, Transformation is really just a matter of changing the way that you are in terms of learning from lessons that have happened to you in the past. When I see this card, I instantly think of the Sankofa bird, which is a symbol that means that in order to know where you're going in the future, you have to go back. So there's a sense that there's things that you might have lost that you'd like to reclaim, and you would like to be able to institute that back into your life and create a rhythm around those things that you have reclaimed in your life, right? For some of you, the reason why that you are unable to do this is because there is a level of contentment, meaning that you're not necessarily making these changes right now because in the space that you're in at this current moment, you are satisfied with the way things are going, even though in the back of your mind, you know that things are going to change or that things will change. And I think for some of you, there's a sense of savoring the moment right now before you kind of move into like this new space where your life will change and fluctuate, whether it speeds up or it slows down or it's a combination of both. I feel like you're kind of taking the time or taking the beat right now to kind of enjoy that. So with that being said, in the current, in terms of your cool action, which again is optimism, is really like just kind of enjoying where you're at. And also in conjunction with the stillness card, it was really kind of enjoying the peace, enjoying the space that you're in right now, because I think for most of you, you are kind of aware that things are going to change as they always do. And so before that change, you're kind of taking a little bit of joy and pleasure in the moment. And that is my intuitive reading about the cards that came out. Let's take a look at the guidebook that accommodates this card. And so for transformation, the tagline is transformation is our only fate. The key symbols represented here is a swan, which represents flexibility and gracefulness. To others, the swan seems to be in great danger with its neck bent back like this, but the swan knows it's completely safe despite all appearances to the contrary. That is the attitude we must take to be victorious, as symbolized by the olive and the laurel leaves. This card is also a representative of Heka, who is the ancient Kemetan god of magic. The term magic is problematic because there was no distinction between religion and the supernatural. Every aspect of existence and daily life was perceived as a reflection of spirit. The concept of separating religion, magic, science, math, sex, art, cooking, dance, and so forth simply did not exist to the ancient Egyptians. Heka referred to the divine power of words to facilitate change. Today will never be exactly like yesterday, and tomorrow will never be exactly like today. And this is a fact. The earth is spinning toward winter, even as you crank the air conditioner to full blast in the middle of July. We know this, and that is why we don't run down the beach flailing our arms about and shouting, "Run, winter is coming." You know that change is inevitable if you live where there is such a season. So the saying people fear change is erroneous. People don't fear change in general. They fear unpredictable changes that they would classify as negative. Who has ever heard of a lottery winner or a woman in love recently proposed to by her boyfriend say, "Oh God, no," and collapse into a sobbing heap? No one, because change itself is not the issue and never has been. What we are really disturbed by are situations that force us to transform our perception of reality we are somehow comfortable with. A change that is perceived to be positive by our minds almost always validates or supports who we are or will sustain how things have been. As long as our identity remains intact, we're usually okay. But when we are not sure how we fit anymore, or something we feel we need in our lives is suddenly no longer there, it can feel like the whole world is coming to an end. People understand if you're down in the dumps about a breakup, a death in the family, or an unexpected loss of a job, but transformations are even harder to deal with when they are inexplicable or internal and are not considered that serious to others. The challenge has suddenly become 10 times worse because without external validation, we may feel embarrassed, betrayed, or even isolated. It is important to deal with the shock or pain of whatever has occurred, or even realize in a secure environment, either alone or with someone else that you absolutely trust. It doesn't matter if the incident happened 30 minutes or 30 years ago. Sometimes you may get a message that requires a transformation today. Reflect, discuss, cry, weep, scream, or punch pillows if you want. The importance is to give yourself that initial reaction time to express whatever you're feeling inside. If you have chosen not to go through this difficult time alone, it is extremely important that your support buddy not try to suppress your feelings or become unglued themselves so that you will not have to end up comforting them. The more honest you are with yourself about your feelings, the easier it will be to identify what must be done to transform into a better version of yourself than into something worse. The unexpected circumstance you perceive to be negative cannot be permitted to permanently transform you into something you don't want to become. Keep in mind that you have a choice to be broken or refashioned by the circumstances of life. And so this card in a reading is asking you to really think about the following things. How has this situation or circumstance altered your self-perception? Is someone else's transformation also forcing you to transform and or redefine yourself? And how can you make the situation work for you instead of against you? Are you aware that it is time to move on, but you're fighting to hold on to an idea, situation, or person out of fear of losing a comfortable identity that you associate with it or them? And what must you transform into to achieve that goal? How hard are you really trying to change? The second core issue card that came out was rhythm. And the tagline for this card is, "The eyes are the source of rhythm." The key symbols represented here are the lute, which was commonly used during rituals throughout the ancient Mediterranean and symbolizes higher states of consciousness. The hare, which represents death and resurrection. The ibis, which represents knowledge and wisdom, and all of these represent the rhythm of life. Also represented here is Apollo, who was the Greco-Roman god of music, prophecy, light, and healing. Rhythm is often associated with music, but the concept may be just as aptly applied to one's spiritual state. Great emphasis is placed on completing something one has started, but few realize the key to reaching one's goal without stress and strain. The harder we try to force an issue, the more resistance appears to inevitably frustrate and exhaust us. Sure, the goal may eventually be reached, but the toll it takes on the mind, body, and or spirit to get there may take a long time, if ever, to fully recover from. This effort is not only unnecessary, it is foolish, especially if we consider natural rhythm to be the ability to sustain the right momentum despite sudden changes and pauses in the environment. The natural world provides wonderful examples of how different forms of life continue to thrive because of their ability to find a way to reach their destination despite the appearance of an altered course. This does not mean that the altered course always has to be challenging. In fact, there are just as many times that we allow our rhythm to be broken in the pursuit of something we know is right for us for a happy reason. It is especially important at these times to reflect on the wisdom of changing the beat in mid-step by questioning our motive for doing so. It is especially important at these times to reflect on the wisdom of changing the beat in mid-step by questioning our motive for doing so. There are times in life when we learn new information and intuit that our rhythmic pattern must be changed for the greater good. You will know if the feeling is genuinely coming from your higher self, if you would feel absolutely no regret if the new thing or relationship did not work out, and you would not even think of returning to the old thing or relationship. It is so easy to get excited over something new that makes us feel good that we may abandon our destiny in exchange for a temporary rush and regret it later. The same is true when we lose our rhythm because we feel it will be too difficult to continue due to either stagnation or sudden obstacles to progress. This is not the time to quit without first examining how you feel about yourself if you throw in the towel and abandon your vision. To succeed, it is imperative to precisely identify your objectives and how far you're willing to go to make it happen. And that's the easy part. The more challenging part is identifying what you will rely on to maintain your rhythm, no matter what, as you pursue your goal. There may be many interruptions, both good and bad, on your journey, so make sure that whatever you choose as your main source of assistance in maintaining focus on the bottom line fits the following criteria. It is always available, it is always accessible, cannot be lost or damaged by any means, encourages faith and constant centering on remembering your purpose. If you get the rhythm card in a reading, the deck is asking you to stop and consider the following questions related to your situation. Are you full of enthusiasm to begin something new, but have not considered the hard work required to do it well? Is the sudden feeling of ecstasy or hopelessness going to last long enough to really justify the decision to change the rhythm of your life? Are you spiritually fortified to face any challenges that may appear? Are you overly relying on artificial or external means to maintain your rhythm? Are you continuing to dance even though the beat of your life is becoming monotonous? In what ways may you be seeking to control the natural rhythm of your life at this point? And so the thing to remember here is that the only thing in this world that is constant is change. And if you're not changing, I mean, then you're dead, right? Like death is the only thing that doesn't change, right? And we change, and we're constantly changing, we're constantly evolving, we're constantly growing, and that is essentially a part of life. But it is important to remain some sort of balance and stability in your life as you go through these changes, so that you don't kind of step away from the things that are important to you, or step away from the practices that you have employed, especially on your spiritual path. Don't step away from those practices during the hard times, right? And still holding on to those practices to kind of sustain you through those rough periods of your life. For some of you, this change that is bound to occur, as it occurs with all of us, is really something that it seems that you might not necessarily want to happen because of the projection card that is being shown here is showing up as contentment. So you are content in the state of your life right now. And so change is not necessarily something that you like, right? You like the familiar, and you like the things that are steady. And this particular change that you're resisting is really due in large part to the fact that you're content about where you are right now. Remember that the projection card is the card that reflects the rationalizations or the justifications in your mind that are preventing you from seeing what the core issue is. These are the comfortable masks of excuses that are placed on the truth, and that if not removed and worked out, it will continue to cause you internal suffering and possibly external hardships. And so contentment means that you are not really welcoming and open to change. And so that is something that you should take a look at. And we're going to look at what the book actually says about contentment. The tagline is, "Contentment is criminal to those who worship suffering." And the symbol here that is representative is the temple of Aset or Isis at Pompeii. It represents safety and comfort. It was not a big temple, but it undoubtedly served countless devotees of the goddess who were seeking aid and advice. And there's also a representation here of Meret, who was the goddess of the treasury and of merriment. To be truly happy, We must learn the art of being completely honest with ourselves. If we feel something is not right and we repeatedly try to convince ourselves otherwise, then mediocrity is all we can ever hope to achieve. Perhaps we harbor soul-stunting beliefs such as we can't have it all and don't rock the boat, or we would rather be safe than sorry. But if you reflect on these axioms, it will not take long to see how disempowering they really are. By pretending to be content, you not only betray yourself, but also set in motion all the negative effects that you would experience if you had betrayed another person. Lying to yourself only increases the number of things for you to lie to yourself about and ensures anger, remorse, and shame. Beware the diminishing theories that promote the idea that there is nobility in lack. This is true for all but a very small number of ascetics in the world. However, such ascetics have made a choice to experience lack so that they are not suffering, as the choice to do without was not made in the spirit of settling or giving up. If you are not satisfied with an aspect of your life, do not allow the ego to convince you to play the martyr. There is no greater cause than your development. Don't fear being wrong, fear being afraid. And if you get the contentment card in a reading, you are choosing to smile on the outside while you suffer silently on the inside. You are being warned to take the necessary steps to change the situation or risk missing out on rich opportunities and untold adventures. If you refuse to heed, one day you will feel the anger, remorse, and or shame that all betrayers must ultimately feel, but you will have no one to blame but yourself. I mean, I don't feel like anything else needs to be said about that, because then what shows up is the cool action card for optimism, which is showing here the flowering garden of cypress, ferns, and orange trees, which represents optimism, abundance, and bliss. And the meaning for this card is that if you believe that things will work out for the best and go forward with no doubt to the contrary, this is really essential now. And the hot action card, which again, like I said, is stillness, is also counterintuitive to what stillness and action really mean. But the card here, the tagline is destiny rewards patience. The key symbol here is a crocodile, and crocodiles do not normally chase their prey. They are patient and can wait hours, days, or even weeks for the appropriate and opportune moment to strike. They can survive a long time without eating. The Sobek was the Kemetan god of strength and power. He was associated with the Nile crocodile and often depicted with a crocodile head. Also is Harpocrates represented here, which is the Kemetan and Greek god of secrets and silence. Action would not be productive right now. Maintain self-control by reminding yourself that waiting is not doing nothing. Make a move when a meal is certain. Until then, be quiet and observe like a good hunter. And these cards seem to have a lot of meaning for different sects of Virgos, but the purpose of these cards is to receive, reflect, realize, accept, and put into action the measures that you want for improvement in your life. So you will know based on the reading what and how this plays out in your life. And so this is the end, dear ones. Please go ahead and like the video, comment below, and share the video with someone who could benefit from the information here. Please also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for post notifications. I will see you soon, Virgo, and take care.